Your secret sauce is your context. There's no semantic layer in the world that can give you an answer on bad data.
We're here at the Databricks conference and we're kicking off this interview series. It's amazing to have our customers, our partners come here and have really meaningful conversations with us. Hi, my name is Gorkem Sevinc and I'm the co-founder CEO of Qualytics. I'm lucky to be sitting here with Austin Kronz. Austin, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Tell us first, who are you? What's your role with Atlan?
Yeah, so I cover AI data strategy for Atlan. Basically, I'm having conversations with customers every day, trying to answer how do I make AI understand my business. And everyone's at a different part of that journey. So a lot of my conversations are maybe bootstrapping some of the foundations to talk to their data and actually have the agents that they're building return results that make sense for their business. Or maybe it's we already have some agents in production and we're trying to figure out how to scale. So a lot of really interesting conversations that we weren't having 2 years ago, but it's been really fun to work with customers along this journey.
Do you feel like you guys also changed your verbiage now from traditional data catalog, data governance to context? I love that, obviously, but tell us more about that context. How did that change come about? How's that landing in the market?
I think rather than a pivot or a change, honestly, it's the evolution. So data catalogs were to people what context will be for AI. And so a lot of our customers are starting their journey still in the human world where people need to discover data, trust data, use data. When we hand that over to AI, there's so many other things that are kind of implied or tacit knowledge or things that haven't been explicitly documented or stored or in a way that a machine can read. So I say evolution because a lot of the foundations we're working on are using things like our context agents to just document columns, descriptions, put README files, rich information about the data in and of itself. Just like a human would benefit from that, an agent needs that. Yeah. So it is absolutely an evolution to context for this machine world that we're going to live in, rather than just human.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I always talk about the derivative uses of data and how derivative uses of data have been evolving quite a bit. We were doing AI and ML before it was cool, right? And now it's cool, but now there are all these new technologies, new methodologies. Agents were RPA in the past, now it's agents, right? But there's non-deterministic nature of that. And I love what you guys are doing with exposing that context at the right time to the right consumer. But I also feel like you're treating the humans and agents at the same level. Would you say that they are both consumers of data, so they should get the same trusted context?
Absolutely. For us, context kind of comes down into 3 buckets, and it'll make sense for AI and it'll make sense for human. The first part of context would be knowledge. Just what do things mean? We always give an example. We built this whole fake burger franchise demo environment, so we call it MIC context. Picture you're building this AI agent and you want to ask why drive-through times are up this week. First and foremost, you need to know, what does drive-through time mean? Yes. So you need knowledge of the business. You need knowledge of this week. Well, is this week Monday to Friday, or is this week Sunday to Monday?
Yep.
How do teams calculate it? What are the nuances? And so knowledge is extremely important. Humans also have this. Sometimes it's in their head, sometimes it's in documents, sometimes it's baked into the SQL, wherever it might be. Then you have expertise. Expertise is kind of the procedural know-how of, I'll use even like an Atlan example. So our sales pipeline, I think SaaS vendor's sales pipeline, in Q3, if something is off, like what's the first thing you would go and check? Like, well, Europe is on holiday, so our pipeline is going to dip. That is an expertise thing that the analysts, that the team, the go-to-market group, that's something they understand to know and check. For an AI, that's not codified anywhere. Yeah. You've hired someone who has acquired that expertise over time or brought that expertise with them. It's almost tacit. And so codifying expertise is really important in the AI era. We'll try our best to bootstrap and reverse engineer a lot of that first and foremost. Okay. And then you have docs, right? Like everyone has a process doc. Prakalpa, our co-founder, sometimes jokes though. If you want to know how a company thinks they operate, go read their documentation. If you want to know how they actually operate, you go to their systems. Yeah. So we'll meet the customer where they're at. Like if you have it, we'll help curate it and put it in a place that's machine readable. If you have nothing, you're not starting from anything, we'll help bootstrap it from the ground up and say there's actually a lot of information we can pull from your existing again, like transformations, dashboards, everything like that.
Over the next 6 months, what's most exciting for you? Taking that control and then taking that context, and then what's next?
I think it's the journey we're going on with customers, because like I said, there are customers that are still in the mindset of the big barrier is we just don't have documentation. And historically, even at Atlan, when we would implement, customers would have to go get people and stewards to come document. And so the first thing that we did was build context agents that could help do the documentation for them. And so we did what we call context sprints, about 250 customers. And at the beginning of it, everyone has this human intuition of like, well, we should review it, as long as we're in the loop and things like that. And we've been pushing, no, like you don't need to be in the loop. You can be on the loop. You can help design the AI that builds the documentation.
Interesting.
But stop inserting yourself.
On the loop versus in the loop. I kind of like that.
Yeah. Post these context sprints, not only did we save it was something like the equivalent of 10 years of working time across all these customers if you added it all up in terms of how much time it saved. 89% of our customers came back to us and said, just rewrite everything a human has written. So that apprehension of, will it be good enough, will it not be good enough? The harness that we've invested in over a period of time, now probably the last 18 months, is now to the point where people are like, go back and just rewrite what a human has done.
That's interesting. So in our world, which is very similar to your world. So our world is data quality, data trust, exposing controls as part of agents, consuming data, etc. Very, very deep on that side. And you're obviously on the context side. It's interesting to see the parallels between the two, but also there's like a stark difference that I see, which is that there are certain knowledge graphs and ontologies, etc., that you can extract. On the data quality side, there is, my opinion is that you need humans in the loop, because that's now you're actually saying, I trust this data versus not trust this data. I need deterministic rules that are going to tell me this is acceptable versus not. What is your opinion on that?
There are deterministic checks that you can do to help indicate whether or not you should trust this, right? Like, is all the data there? Is it fresh? Is it updated? Like, who owns it? There's a lot of other things I think that surround trust, which are just, are people using it? Like, what does it mean? Where does it come from?
When was the last time it was used?
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of other things outside of just even deterministic checks. I also think context, much like data, can drift, get stale. Context will also drift, get stale. The moment you build a skill around a certain type of analysis and your business changes, well, now if you don't have what we consider like the entire context lifecycle in mind, or like management of skills as you build them for these agents, very quickly it's someone has to go back in and do that. And so you really need to factor in a lot of the, when was the last time the skill was updated? When was the last time, who built the skill? Do we trust that person? Is there an agent in the context layer that's constantly monitoring for when a skill might not be producing the right result anymore? Yeah,
and to your point, the usability, explainability, auditability of data matters, and it matters more today than ever, and exposing it as signals to the right consumers at the right time, as you said, is very important. So I think that's where the better together story gets very interesting. We have shared customers, obviously we're partners, and what we have seen with some of those customers is combining the context with the controls in place. Now I have a trusted ecosystem end to end. I have the definitions, I have the knowledge, I have the full context, as well as I have the controls, the signals that are exposed to real-time decisions that are being made on data.
I'd say from the data world to the agentic world, in non-deterministic cases, the answers can be fluid. In data, there is a right answer. There is a right answer to how much revenue we have. Right?
Yes.
There is a right answer to what was our drive-through time.
Yes.
So everything else that surrounds that is monitoring sort of what the agent is actually doing. So, how did the agent navigate to that table? Did we have the right semantics for it to go and follow that route? Now that data has to be high quality, fresh, up to date, everything that you need from underlying data. But the agent itself also has a lot of now additional layers that we need to figure out. Well, how did it, if it does get the wrong answer, why? Sometimes that's challenging. And so we're seeing a lot more evolution into like the agent trace world, and what tools are the agent calling? What context did the agent reference?
Have you seen your buyer evolve from chief data officers to chief AI officers? Or is it CDOs with AI mandates? Like, have you seen a shift in the economic buyer?
I always say CEOs and boards give the go do more with AI.
Yes.
And then it's up to everyone underneath them to sort of interpret what that means for them. For data people, that might mean talk to data. And so they're trying to build AI agents to just help them do like AI for BI use cases. For teams in the business, they're doing more operational teams. You know, you have your like contact center that comes up with, well, what if we had an AI agent that you talk to? All of those start to use data. And so what's really interesting is like the backbone of a lot of this is, yes, we need our enterprise data that makes sense. But in order to get this new non-deterministic, like really smart alien that AI is, we have to give it some type of context and instruction and guidance and knowledge about our organization and our norms and all these kinds of things. So it has evolved, and I think it's evolving mostly because the teams that are starting to build come from a lot of different places. You kind of have bottoms up builders that are just starting on the agent development process, and then you have your more centralized architects, your CIO, your AI teams that are being spun up that are thinking, what is our platform for the future? If you are a chief data officer right now, you have to try to own this. Like, you have a very important ingredient, and I think if you become more of the just submit a ticket, we tell you how to get to the data, you'll be left out of what is this next big piece of pie.
Yeah, the CDO has to be a partner to every single C-suite executive, has to be an owner of platforms, but is not the implementer of the platforms, right? Yeah, my opinion is that for my context to be successful, for my data controls, data quality to be successful, I need business users to come and co-own it end to end. It's a team sport, right? It's not a only data governance team is able to do data quality, for example, right? That fails.
No, I agree. Federation is inevitable. You know, in the data mesh era, we heard a lot of like, we're centralizing to decentralize. Sort of makes sense, like we're investing in platforms so that the business can operate it in a safe way. The business and different parts of the organization will have access to their own agentic development platforms and frameworks. So you might have someone who's locally just using Cloud Code, you may have your engineering team using Codex, you may have your team using Genie, you have another team that, hopefully I could say we're at a Databricks conference, you know, but people are going to use Snowflake Cortex, and people there's going to be a dozen different agentic development platforms.
Yes.
Sprawl will become inevitable whenever you build an agent in one system and you go to build it in another. How do you port it over if you've hard-coded the context into whatever the development platform is?
Have you run into anybody saying like, oh, that knowledge graph, that context is my intellectual property?
We talk about this. We talk about context as your IP all the time.
Yeah.
If you think of LLMs and just intelligence in general, they've pretty much commoditized intelligence.
Yeah.
You have access to the same models that your competitor has access to.
Yes.
So intelligence is a level playing field. It's been commoditized. The only thing that makes you different between that contact center agent that one company builds and the contact center agent that another company builds is just how you do business. And that is the context of your organization. Like, your secret sauce is your context. There's no semantic layer in the world that can give you an answer on bad data.
Yes.
I would try to just view it as like my pessimistic, maybe former Gartner analyst side comes in and says, of course, you know, we've always been talking about foundations. This shouldn't be surprising. My optimistic side, I try to look at this as, if AI and agent building is the way that we get the proper attention on data needs to be accurate and quality, and you know, we need to actually have our data foundations in order. Yeah, there's a lot of, like I said, knowledge, expertise, and then norms would be the third component of context. There's a lot of things that don't exist in the column name or table name. Like, I can tell you what year means, but how we interpret year and how we use it for different types of analysis, that's always going to depend. Like, that is an expertise that needs to be codified, and it probably doesn't live in a doc. Or either.
And it changes from business unit to business unit.
Yep.
That makes it even more interesting.
Yes, and.
Right.
Yes, and that's correct. There's all this talk about finding which one is the right metric. And sometimes there are metrics that are the same, that have nuance to them, appropriately so.
Yes.
You know, like, yes, there is a global metric. This is how we view it. But two teams might correctly interpret it slightly differently because they have different use cases or goals in mind.
What's your prediction for the future? That's my last question to you.
I think that people will start to move along that maturity curve or be left behind.
Yeah. Like the bell curve is going to move towards the right more.
Yeah, I definitely don't think we're at a normal distribution right now. It's definitely skewed to the left a bit on that.
I agree.
Again, there's going to be a majority, like a evolution of maturity. There's a lot of experimentation going on. Meeting customers where they're at in the context journey is going to be very important. for us.
I saw a very interesting experiment. Actually, I'll share this example with you. I think you're going to get a kick out of it. A highly regulated customer that has, I mean, they're running on-prem with us. Like, imagine that, no internet access, like.
Oh, I don't have to imagine it.
Yeah, right. You know the customer type that I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
And they're a highly regulated financial services industry customer, which gets a 170-page document from the Fed that has to be implemented as the data quality controls that they have to be able to prove. So their AI experiment was actually a person taking that document, feeding that through an LLM, having a mapping file that actually spat out the SQL that they could then put into their Teradata instance so that they could run those DQ checks. That is a hell of an experiment and actually opened up a lot of budgets for them because they're like, oh, so I don't have to then trust it fully. I can be in the loop or on the loop, take that output, and then now they're at the next level of maturity where they're not only experimenting, but they're actually deploying LLMs into production. And then now they're thinking about agents, right? That's just a quick example of what I've seen in the market. Well, Austin, it's been a pleasure having this conversation with you, and really excited to be working closer with you guys over the coming years.
Yeah,
thank you
for having me. I enjoyed the conversation.
Awesome.